We are live. And good afternoon. Haiti Oropesa, Stephanie Pointer, and Pastor Elvis Piggott. Happy Resurrection Weekend. Yes?
Yes.
For those believers out there, happy Resurrection, happy Easter. So today we have as a guest Johnny Bush. He's in the waiting room, and he's going to be coming on. Pastor Elvis Piggott and Stephanie Pointer are going to be interviewing him. He's a candidate for Hillsborough County School Board District 7. And so I'm sure it's going to be very informative for those of you who vote in Hillsborough. This election cycle, he is going to be on the ballot. And before I turn it over to Elvis and Stephanie, I wanted to just make a brief announcement. We have a lot. This is a presidential election cycle. It's going to be, hopefully there's a huge turnout. And in Hillsborough County, we have a judge, Judge Matthew A. Smith, who is going to be on the ballot. He wants to continue to serve on the bench. And so he's seeking to get a 6-year term to continue to serve the residents, those who reside in Hillsborough County, those who would have a case in that county. Okay. So without any further ado, I am going to go ahead and we will be with candidate Johnny Bush, Elvis Piggott, and Stephanie Pointer in just a moment.
Hey, good afternoon. And I always wanted to say this. Here's Johnny. You never heard that before, right? So corny. You're muted. Are you muted, Johnny? Okay. Let's see. Still can't hear you.
There may be some technical difficulties when we brought you on when you were on the phone.
Oh.
Are you using Chrome? Maybe you should get back on the phone.
Looks like he's hitting the mute button and it's not coming off. Okay, now he's muted. Now he shouldn't be.
Yeah, something's wrong because you went right before the broadcast started when you were in when I brought you on. I was so. Let me see something. Hold on a second.
Try. If not, try.
Let me see something. Hold on. All right, can you hear me? Can talk on the other device. Why don't you do this? I'm going to make a recommendation. Why don't you log off? I'm going to log off both of the devices that you logged on, both of them. Log off of them and then hit the link again that I sent you. Yeah. So log off both of them. And then, yeah. So somebody's getting a detention for coming to school late.
That's right. We're gonna...
It happens, right? I don't even get nervous anymore. It is what it is.
Welcome to technology. It's great until it's not. That's what I tell people all the time.
Technology. We heard him just fine, right?
Yep. You're right.
Okay, here he goes. Let's see. Hopefully, yes. God. Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sweet.
I'm gonna leave you all to
Wonderful
your interview.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay.
I am not familiar with StreamYard.
Well, not many people are. It's one step up from doing a Zoom.
Gotcha.
It's got better capabilities. Well, we like to start everybody out with giving us the basics. So the basic, Johnny, tell us a little bit about yourself. And I want to thank you for coming on today, because what prompted this was Mr. Pickett, Pastor Pickett, had done a video asking you about what your platform was, and we wanted to give him the opportunity to ask you that and give you the opportunity to answer his Facebook Live, because it was pretty full. You could start us out with the basic, Johnny, and let us know who you are.
Okay, so I'm Johnny Bush. I am a retired educator of 35 years in the state of Florida. I have worked at the elementary, middle, the high school level. I've worked at the college level. I've supervised interns. I've taught total communications. I was a former teacher of the deaf. I moved here from St. Augustine in '97. I've been in Hillsborough County ever since. And even though we have a home over there still, I will never, ever leave Hillsborough County. It's got the perfect balance for me and my family. I have been I was a teacher at Brandon High. I went to Riverview High to be an AP1, went back to Brandon to be the APA, went to Robinson to be the APC, and shortly thereafter, I became the principal of Robinson. I went downtown to Professional Standards, and once I left Professional Standards, I wanted to come back to a school. The superintendent was looking to move people out of the district level, and I happily volunteered. He asked me if I would take Plant High, and I said no, but couldn't get out of that one, and I ended up being the principal of Plant for the last 5 years of my career. I sat out 6 months with the FRS system and I had a plan that I wanted to work with kids that looked like me when I grew up. Jefferson High School is that, and I am currently the hall monitor at Jefferson High. I'm a native of Palm Beach, Florida. I'm one of 7 kids to a single mom. So what I'm trying to give to the kids at Jefferson is what people gave to me. So I will leave it at that, and I'll open it up.
Elvis?
All right. So wonderful. Of course, Mr. Johnny Bush, it is a privilege and honor to be able to speak with you.
Good to see you, sir.
To hear your background, how you've come, and etc. Real quickly before I jump into, what is the purpose of the school board?
Well, the school board's purpose is to make policy and to hire the superintendent. And those are 2 enormous tasks that they have at hand. So I am more policy driven than I am politics. And I think politics is going to rear its ugly head no matter how you cut it. So we are happy to embrace those types of questions. But that's the main attraction to me as far as the school board members. We've got to address policies that are not helping our schools. Okay, sounds good. Now, what would be the reason why you chose to run for school board? I do a lot of posting on my personal social media, not to attack anybody in the school board, or I give all the props in the world for anyone who wants to run for any position of such. But I think there's something missing. When I was a teacher, when I was an assistant principal, and when I was a principal, I would often, it always came across that the people on that school board were the smartest people in the room. And I'm thinking, wow, you're making policies for kids and teachers, because teachers are a huge part of this, and administrators. And I just don't know that you're that informed. I feel like I'm a little more informed, that I can bring things to this table that we have to start looking at. And I think we're on the right track with a lot of things. Money, I think we're on the right track. I think we're heading toward it this coming Tuesday. It's going to be very important that we vote to put that millage on the table because we need to support those who we put in charge of educating our kids. But there are some things there that we've got to address conditions. I think the policies that we have in place are not addressing the conditions that we are asking teachers to teach in, and those things are causing our teachers to leave our district. Okay. And so your plans, because what you mentioned, which is very
necessary, very true, saying that basically people are making policies on the school board that is not technically in the schools, been in the school, understand the school process. You do realize that you're running for District 7 and you're running against Lynn Gray, who actually is an incumbent and have been a teacher and have been in the schools. And allegedly, she knows what it is to be a teacher in a school.
Mm-hmm. And I will first and foremost say that I've served on many committees with Miss Gray, and I've been on forums for Miss Gray. I don't have any concern with Miss Gray as a person. I just think that what I bring to the table, and Miss Gray hasn't been in a classroom in quite a while, and I'm not going to start this, this back and forth with her. She's a 2-term incumbent. She's done some great things for our district. I think we are missing what is happening. Like, I'm just blown away that a millage did not pass. And I think we could have done more for that 2 years ago. And that sent a very strong message to our teachers. I don't, that everybody around us, whether they're conservative or liberal counties, they have a property tax in place to secure or to help secure teachers in our district here. And that's a start. Money fixes a lot of things, but money doesn't take care of the conditions that you're dealing with in school. And I think what separates me is I've been in schools where people have lost their spouses, where people have lost their kids, where people's kids have had mental health issues, and people look at teachers like they're a robot, like nothing, like they're teaching their roster of 150 kids a day, but they don't have cancer. They don't have divorces. Their kids are not struggling. We assume that these things don't happen, and we forget that. And we're consistently going in the classrooms, in my opinion. And it's one of the things you ask anyone around. Don't go into a classroom looking for what's wrong. Go into a classroom looking for what's right. We've got to get back to that. We've got to get back to making people feel good about their chosen profession, because that is what made that difference. My mom was not a person that said, you can go to college. I want you to go to college, blah, blah, blah. My mom had 7 kids. She had 2 rules. Don't let the school call my house, and don't let the police come to my house. Otherwise, you can stay here and eat. And other people, teachers, were the ones that made that difference. As a leader, if you haven't been a principal, if you haven't been at the district level, you haven't been an assistant principal, it's hard to understand what it takes to support kids through supporting teachers, if that makes sense.
It makes sense. Well, I totally disagree, but I'm with you. It makes sense from you. However,
you said you totally disagree?
I totally disagree. But I get it. I understand, because I believe that you have people on the school board. I don't believe that you need to be on, a principal or in that role to actually become or want to serve on the school board. And I think, that's one's opinion.
Well, I'm not
disagree, because of course I did run for school board and I haven't been a teacher nor a principal. To do it again.
Yeah, and like I said, I respect people that do that, and I respect anyone who's running for the school board. I just, like I said, I bring a different lens to it. I am not. We wouldn't have any school board members in any district in America, or we wouldn't have many if we wanted educators to run, because educators don't always run for school boards. So there are a lot of school. So I am saying people are knowledgeable, but I bring a different lens to it.
I agree. Great experience and a lot of experience. You mentioned
I'd like to weigh in a little bit on that.
Yes.
Elvis, I don't know if you realize that I'm a retired teacher as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I walked in my first week in my school. My mentor teacher became a counselor, which was doing scheduling and all that good stuff. So I was immediately thrust into a leadership role. And I think that there's a lot of value to having multiple levels of education about how education works. And I don't think there's any discounting anybody's priorities. But, we have this really, really jaded view of educators at this point. And it's been around for years. One of my personal pet peeves was that when my daughter was in daycare, the women who came in and parents who came in to pick up their kids would call your teacher. they didn't even bother to learn their teachers' names. They just called them your teachers. And that was a level of disrespect that it always just rubbed me wrong. But I'm a firm believer in that. Having experience at different levels is very helpful. And I've already seen in this race, and it wasn't this particular race, but at Tiger Bay, that folks who don't have a whole lot of understanding of the pedagogy and all the technical stuff that goes along with teaching, I think it does make a difference in them getting in the door and hitting the ground running. So I do see some value in that.
I agree. Elected officials are elected officials by constituents, communities, and their elected officials are voted by constituents that has chose to select or to vote for someone to further the agenda of theirs and not their own. You don't vote elected officials because of their experience. You vote elected officials that's willing to listen to what's necessary and those that are educated around them in the experience. And so we have many elected officials that's on the board now that is educators that I personally feel is doing a disservice to the community and African-American young men around Hillsborough County. So why it is good and why it is necessary and why it brings extra value and give another step up, you still have to have that ability to listen to those constituents that vote, because educators, if you look at the polls, we'll talk about that on a different story. However, they're very important. We understand the school system. As I said, there's an educator that's sitting in this seat. I have not supported or endorsed anyone in District 7. Surely Lynn Gray is not what my focus is, but however, it is important. My purpose and my focus is the African-American young man that's been underprivileged, underserved in Hillsborough County for decades. This is not an issue of 2024. We saw during the pandemic how this digital divide just took wind of our East County African-American people. My question would be for you, Johnny Bush. You are running countywide. Why it is a great thing to be over at Jefferson. It's a great thing to have been over at Plant the time you was there, over at Robinson the time you was there. But you're running in a countywide seat, which consists of all of our schools, all of our young people. And I would directly ask, what direct policy in your experience of principal that you feel will better help, or what suggestions you will give Van Ayers, Superintendent Van Ayers, and the policy and that budget, because it's budget policy superintendent that you'll deal with. What direct policy that your suggestion you will give Superintendent Van Ayers that will benefit, that will embrace, that will help African-American young people, boys and girls, that is losing when it comes to reading, losing when it comes to the digital divide. Our schools in the area is absolutely nothing compared. You're at Plant, and I watched on TV where you had Senator Janet Cruz. You guys lost air conditioning, and you had no air conditioning at Plant. And Senator Janet Cruz, and they did a whole press conference at Plant about making sure things get back right. But yet you had Jennings, you had Blake, you had those schools with no air. There was no press conferences. My question, to make things not do nothing better for that community, but allow things to be equal for those young people, what policy would you bring to the board to be voted on that makes sure that all students have equal opportunity for education?
Okay, that's quite a long ways to get to this question of policy and equality in education. And Mr. Pygott, I'm going to tell you like this, sir. You don't know me, and can we all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you don't know my background, and we don't know each other. I know you well. I respect you. I know what you've done, or and I know of your path of running for school board there. My thing here is I'm going to stay true to what I believe in, and I'm going to stay true to what got me to where I am. I've forgotten more in my life, trauma things in my life that I care to admit on this show right here. And what I do because people have put me in this situation to get to where I am right now. A lot of, my sister is chief of police down in Palm Beach. And, when they asked her once she was appointed chief of police, why did she get into law enforcement? And we talked about where my mom's, disgruntled boyfriend shot her in front of us. And she chose to go into law enforcement because a police officer took us to McDonald's and took care of us till our older sister got there to pick us up. But going back to your question again, like I said, I people don't know my past, and people can see what I've done here in Hillsborough County. I'm not familiar with the air conditioning story. I don't know that Plant had whether it was here, because I left Plant 2 years ago. I'm not familiar with Janet Cruz coming out and doing anything like that. So I'd like to know more information about that and where that came from. But as far as policies go, that what we will do to help, the marginalized community or young African American males, what have you. My number one thing that I'm going to say, and this is something I will stick to my campaign: if you care about kids, you will care about the people we put in charge of educating our kids. If you care about kids, we will take care of the people we put in charge of educating our kids. Putting qualified teachers in front of those students and making sure that we support those teachers. That's a huge part of my campaign. And if anyone in any community says that teachers don't matter and teachers aren't to start out, when you were a young kid and you went to school and your parents dropped you off, the first tier of support you had was that teacher. That is what my policy is what are we doing to take care of our teachers? Because these are the people that have to be in front of our kids. There are 50 million kids in public education in America. They can't all go to public and private schools. Public and private schools make up about anywhere from 8 to 10% of education in America. What are you doing with the other 90+% of kids in public education out there? What are we doing with this? This is a nationwide thing that you're bringing up. And again, I don't know if you heard me, but I'm one of 7 kids to a single mom. My dad left in 1968. I was that African-American male that was struggling, that didn't feel like we had the right opportunities there. And the people that made the difference were the teachers. And if this campaign doesn't involve around me and me taking care of those we put in front of our kids to educate them, because that's what made the difference with me and my siblings that made it out, and only 3 of us made it out, then I have to let the chips fall where they may. When I get to the school board, we're looking. When I'm at Jefferson, and I'm not that principal anymore. When I'm at Plant and Robinson, I'm the principal. I go to that classroom and I go, okay, young man, young lady, you can't disrupt the class of 30+ kids. You're going to have to come with me. Now at Jefferson, I tell the teacher, before you write that referral, send that young man to me, send that young lady to me. Let us sit and talk about it. So mentoring is a huge part. Indirect mentoring is a huge part of what my campaign is all about. And dealing with things like we don't realize that generational poverty creates mental health. We have to address those things. And I know we're going to get to the point where we say, how do we get parents involved? Okay, we've got to start meeting parents where they are, because that's how my mom was involved. People had to come meet us. Social workers, having enough we don't have enough social workers. We don't have enough psychologists in our district. These are people that bridge a gap between a teacher and the school and the parents. So we have to keep these things going. But when you talk about specific policies, to the biggest thing that I want to do is make this a desirable district for people to want to be in. People get paid right. We address conditions. We don't let kids abuse our teachers. We work to bridge a gap between the schools and parents. Those are things that I'm involved with. So I'm not sure I answered your question about the policies. we have to figure out what policies are hurting our students in that area, and we have to address those policies.
All right. I'm done. I'm going to let Stephanie do this. I'm going to mention this in my 60 seconds. Stephanie will take over. That's why it's important when we talk about our experience in the beginning, 35 years, you as a principal, working in education, and 5 years at Plant, different things that you've done, which is awesome experience. But with those experiences, you had to follow policies. Policies and procedures that while you was a principal that help and also that could hurt. And so when I ask someone that has experience already in the school system and that has already been there, and they had a handbook and they had things like units and resources at their schools, I would think that they would know that this policy was a policy that hurt us. But then this is a policy that when I become a board member, I will create, because this policy will help students, because we didn't have a policy like that when I was a principal. So when we use all those things, because I know principals, I know a lot of the principals across the district that talks about losing units. I know a lot of principals and teachers that we talk about bringing the teachers in, but we're bringing them in with no resources. And so when we talk policy, we can push the teachers in schools and we can bring them there. But if we haven't equipped them with the proper resources, with the proper units and the proper support, we're just bringing them in to leave. So when we talk about 35 years experience and we ask about policy, I personally, as I get off of my soapbox, look for someone to have a direct policy on how they can better the school and how they can help African-American young men across this district be in a better place. Thank you so much, Johnny Bush, for your running, for your commitment, and for your dedication. Most of all, 35 years of service. Stellar. Appreciate you. Go ahead, Stephanie.
I got you, sir.
We have a question from Mr. Dave Coleman. Wastel and the GOP say public schools are past history and all are changing to charter. They will not back the CIT or the millage because most low income, like myself, couldn't afford to send their kids across town and had to rely on public schools. So how can the community fight the local GOP and Tallahassee that seems to like the uneducated?
Okay, so that question has to do with whether or not we want to support the millage and CIT or not. I'm on a phone. I can barely see it.
Basically, the question was wrapped up into we have a GOP that do not want the millage, and they're saying that we don't need public education. So how are we going to be able, when you talked about the millage, how we're going to be able to actually get the millage passed if we have a GOP that's fighting against it because they want charter schools or they want private schools and not public schools?
Gotcha. All right. And again, I'm on the phone, so I do apologize for that. Well, folks, when that question was posed to me a couple of weeks ago, how do you justify a millage? And my question back is, how do you not justify a millage? It would be easier to say that the surrounding counties, Sarasota, Manatee, Polk, Pasco, Hernando, Pinellas, if they weren't all supporting a millage to help pay their teachers, it would be easy to say, okay, they figured out how to do it without a millage. We need to figure it out. When you look at counties that are equal size, Palm Beach County, Orange County, Miami-Dade, those guys have a millage that helps support teacher pay. So how do we not? Because these people hadn't figured out how to do it without a millage either. So again, I don't. When they vote on Tuesday, if they don't, that millage is not passed to be on the next ballot there, then our teachers are going to be a little more depleted. Our teachers are feeling defeated now, but we're going to defeat them further by showing them that, okay, we don't want to pay more money to help support our education in Hillsborough County. And to me, that's an issue. So I will support the millage because we want people in our schools that, number one, feel good financially, but that can't be all. We can't give teachers more money and go, okay, now go out and do your job. We gotta address the condition. And Mr. Pygott, I think you and I are on the same page when we say that we've got to address the conditions. When you talk about the policies or what have you, there are lots of policies that are within our thing there that we talk about suspension rates. What is the progressive discipline and those types of things. I don't want to log into a policy, and I know what policies are in place for us to run a school. We're not allowed to do this. We're not allowed to do that. We don't want to get into all of that. That's kind of getting into the weeds on things. But when you say putting people in front of our kids that are mentally, physically, and emotionally healthy, money helps with that. Money definitely helps with that. To people that say that we're going to change everything to charter schools, I'm running for public education in Hillsborough County. So if I'm running for public education in Hillsborough County, if our schools are good and we are doing what we're supposed to be doing and they're desirable, parents should have no need to want to go to private schools or charter schools. They should want to go to our schools. And how do we make our schools better? Is putting solid educators that are qualified in our schools. So we are looking to do that.
I just want to point out that charter schools often are not working with certified teachers.
Right.
Private schools are not required to have certified teachers. There's a lot to be said. I mean, I have 2 degrees. I have a degree in education, half of another one. I have a master's degree in education. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of insulting that folks think that you don't need to have education on how to teach kids.
But here's kind of piggyback on that. When people say it's choice, is it really choice? Because I could have gone to my mom and said, "Hey, I want to go to Benjamin High School. I'm one of the football players on our team, and I have the grades." My friends are saying, "Hey, come to Benjamin High School, and we'll get you scholarship." But you had to get there. You had to have transportation. So without transportation there, I didn't really have a choice. My choice was to stay at the school I was at. So, and when you talk about it, I don't know that people get there are 50 million kids in public education, and you're not going to have enough private and charter schools to deal with this. So we have got to make our public schools better. And that's across America. And if our public schools are doing what they're supposed to be doing, then we should not have a need for them. Now, I have an issue with parents saying, I want my kid at this school because my kid doesn't learn in such an environment. It's too big for them. Or when you have a child, your ultimate responsibility is to take care of that child no matter what it takes. So I'm not angry with people that take their kids to private schools and to charter schools, but if our schools are doing what they're supposed to be doing, like Mr. Pike says, there is somewhat geographical discrimination in education all across America. How do we get the schools that are in the geographically discriminated areas up to par to where the kids are feeling proud and their teachers are happy to be in those schools?
Well, in our parting words, we appreciate you so much. We're going to let you wrap it up with some last things that you can speak to the voters and let them know. I would say that our millage in Hillsborough County didn't pass for the lack of trust to the school board. It had nothing to do with our teachers. We love our teachers. We support them. But when you don't have a board that you can trust and they have spread lies after lies of what they was going to do with other millages that they didn't do, it was the lack of trust and confidence in the voters in Hillsborough County. So we can restore that millage by restoring trust on the board when dealing with our budget. And so that's very important. And so we go back into getting your parting words, and we will really hope that you have a successful campaign, man, because, of course, I do like you by all means, but I never can be biased. I'm just me. And so I tell you, appreciate you again for your running. And, Lynn Gray is there. We're pretty sure we'll have her on. We want to be able to, the voters need to know why change now? Why do we need a change? And if we cannot find out that change, she'll find herself being reelected. We want to know, voters want to know, why do we need a change now? In your hands, Johnny Bush. Thank you so much. And appreciate you. And while we got discrimination all over America, you running for Hillsborough County School Board. We're going to fix it here. Go ahead, sir.
I appreciate you. And there are some chat questions in the box there. Miss, will I get those questions at all?
Teachers need pay. Straight out. Pretty much the same thing. Teachers need pay. The site building and bringing in our air conditioner repairs. That was discussed. Yeah, we already got that millage. going for that straight out. What is the biggest difference between yourself and Lynn Gray? That is going to be what the voters want to know. And so that's going to be the reality.
That's an excellent question. Real quickly,
go ahead,
Mr. Bush. I'm sorry. The chat on the side is just between the folks who are on this screen. It's not questions for you, but I think Dave Coleman asked the perfect closing question.
All right, that is a great question, and the difference again, I have no ill will or I mean, I wish Ms. Gray the best. For someone to be running for a third term, and there's been a lot of work done here. I will again go back to touting my career as an educator and spending 25, 26 years here in Hillsborough County. I've done everything. In Hillsborough County, I taught deaf and hard of hearing kids. So I was on the ESC side of the world, which that's a whole nother conversation. Are our kids, are their IEPs being addressed? Are their accommodations being met? We need to get back to that. And we are having a difficult time. Some schools can co-teach because they can get the ESC teachers in there. Some schools cannot co-teach. They have to do teacher support from an ESC teacher. That's something we have to address as well. I went on to become an assistant principal 1, and I've done the athletic director and the building maintenance person. When you talk about, the building maintenance part of everything and air conditioning being down, I was the athletic director and the assistant principal for administration at Brandon High. We dealt with that. I was the guy calling out to fix the hair handler all the time. So I've done that part. I've done the curriculum side of everything. I do know that one size fits all does not work. We have to get back to giving support to schools as they need the support. Every school doesn't need the same level of support, but we can't have a one size fit all. We can't look at a model that staffs our teachers based on numbers in the schools. We have to look at the geographical location. We have to look at, the school grades and things like that. So I've been a part of the curriculum side. I've been downtown in professional standards where I had to work with progressive discipline. Every teacher, teachers are human beings. They make mistakes. We don't throw every teacher out. We do progressive discipline with them. We work very closely with the union. So I understand that side of things. Coming back and working as a principal of Planton High School, Planton is a very old school, so we did have some maintenance issues there, and just leaving that school. And, we brought Robinson High School to its first A ever. We brought the IB program to accreditation. And at Plant, we maintained the rating of the #1 high school in the Bay Area. At Jefferson right now is the most important work I feel like I've done in a long time, because I have kids that want to go on and do great things, to go on to college, to go on to the military, to go on to the workforce. And we get to talk with those kids about that. We get to help them fill out their applications. So again, I have no doubt that my level of experience is far in the school settings and being successful at it is far above what what anyone on the board has right now, because I'm still doing it. And I will continue to do it until I don't want to get religious on it, but until my Lord and Savior tells me I need to do something different. But that's where I am. Again, I would say with what separates Ms. Gray and I is I bring a completely different lens to it. I've done the work. I have done the work. And that's probably what separates me, in my opinion.
Okay, and for those of you watching and who will watch, you can learn more about candidate Johnny Bush at votejohnnybush.com. It's in the lower left there on the screen. Thank you so much for coming on. What a wonderful conversation. And this is a very important race.
I want to say one last thing, folks. If anyone gets a chance to look or just to go online and find the book called "If You Don't Feed the Teachers, They Eat the Children." And it's all about supporting the people we put in front of educating our kids. Folks, teachers make a difference. We've gotten away from understanding that teachers make the difference because they're with your kids all day. So we've got to get back to that. Thank you all for having me.
Thank you for coming, sir.
All right.
Have a good weekend. Happy Easter.
Happy Easter, folks.
Resurrection.